Father, it's me, Michael.
He's my father.
They didn't recognize me at first, but then they thought I was you.
I am nothing like you.
I put her back together, just like you asked me to.
You are his child. You have a purpose. We will always be his.
There is only one thing left for me to do now.
Go to hell.
MikeTOYSNHK is the theory that Mike Afton is the one you should not have killed, or the vengeful spirit that created Ultimate Custom Night to torment William Afton for all of eternity. This theory was created and popularized by dual process theory, but the vengeful spirit is generally considered to be Golden Freddy due to a cutscene from the game's 50-20 mode. This individual could be Cassidy, the little girl I have yet to believe exists, Cassidy as in the crying child, Andrew, a kid from the books who is briefly implied to be Golden Freddy and is the vengeful spirit in that continuity, and once in a blue moon, Michael Brooks, if people remember he exists. Still, I think Ultimate Custom Night has certain themes and lines that indicate that the vengeful spirit isn't just any of William's victims. In this video, you can expect major spoilers from the second FNaF movie, as well as some content warnings I'll put on the screen now. Because I want to use the most recent piece of information we have as a clue to prove that Mike being the vengeful spirit is more than just a theory, it's something that satisfies the narrative more than any other option. I go more into detail on the movie's character parallels in my last video, but it seems like the characters of Mike Schmidt, Vanessa Shelley, and Michael Afton depict different aspects of Michael's character in the games. Let me introduce you to Michael Math. I'll put the chart I made on screen, but basically I counted up the traits I believe each character shares with Michael Afton to calculate how much of his character they make up. Not all Michaels are created equal, but Michael Math isn't super important to this video. You don't need to understand what I'm talking about. I'm just going to prioritize certain arguments over others because of this. And I feel like the character information we do get supports Michael as a vengeful spirit, even if I'm not thrilled by all that character information. While the movies and the novels, for all their setup and timelines, only take place over a few years, the games span decades. I have my own issues with the movie characters, but I do think the intention of having so many different character parallels was to cover different aspects of characters' lives across such a long span. I think Vanessa, Mike, and movie Michael, who I'll just call M. Michael to save some time, all exemplify why Michael Afton is the vengeful spirit, beyond Mike Schmidt telling William to go to hell, which he does do. However, this video wasn't inspired by the movie. I think everything clicked for me when I was thinking about Michael's sister location monologue. Specifically when he says, "There is only one thing left for me to do now." I think what strikes me the most about this line is that it's a lie. Yeah, Michael is dead, but that doesn't mean he has no options. He can give up and die here. He can disappear and become a hermit like Henry. There is only one thing left to do, though. Because there always has been. Now, I'm going to make a few assumptions for the sake of my argument. I'm willing to defend all these, but they aren't the point of this video, so they won't be as highly evidenced as they could be. Assumption 1. The order of the games is as follows: FNaF 2, FNaF 1, Sister Location, FNaF 3, and FNaF 6. I'm not including FNaF 4 in this hypothetical timeline because I don't need it for this video. I'm using this order because, of course, we know FNaF 2 is before FNaF 1, and it's continuously implied that the main 5 animatronics were melted down into the fun times, meaning that Sister Location takes place after FNaF 1. FNaF 3 is implied to take place after Sister Location, due to the fact that it's referenced after the end of Sister Location, and Scott implied FNaF 3 is an explanation of the fate of Sister Location's protagonist. And FNaF 6 is last, because that's the point of the whole game. Assumption 2. Michael Afton is a protagonist of each of these games. let's take a brief look at the evidence. We're shown that Michael goes by Mike in sister location, and the survival logbook shows us that a security guard named Mike knows things only Michael Afton would know about. And Golden Freddy says it's me to him, implying that Mike is supposed to know who this guy is. Fritz Smith is also likely Mike Schmidt. They were fired for the same reasons. Also, Fritz seems to have a Nepo baby privilege since he's hired on that day, and the night before Fritz comes in, Ralph states that they don't have a replacement yet. As I said before, it's implied FNaF 3 is meant to reveal the fate of the sister location protagonist. This was originally some foundation for Mike Trap, which was deconfirmed. The natural new solution is to consider that Michael is the protagonist instead of the antagonist. Michael is the protagonist of FNaF 6 as well. A lot of the animatronics imply they know him, and Henry does as well. Henry claims that this job listing wasn't intended for him, and that he has a feeling the protagonist doesn't want to escape. Henry could, of course, be lying, but that doesn't erase the fact that he's speaking to someone he knows. Someone he is familiar enough to recognize that this isn't who the job listing was for. Also, apparently the music has a lot of references to Michael, which I think is neat. It'd also just be weird for Michael to say he's going to come find William and then not be the one to assist in the final fire. FNaF is hardly known for well-written narratives, but I think that Michael being the franchisee makes narrative sense logically. Assumption 3. Michael worked for William until the end of sister location. Michael says he went down to the sister location bunker just like William asked him to, implying that yes, he was listening to William up until this point. But there are 2 games that prelude this one, as I've explained before. Notably, both games that prelude sister location do not have William as an antagonist in the way that FNaF 3 and FNaF 6 do. While it's implied he's in the background doing his evil deeds, he doesn't directly attack the player. The FNaF 2 movie implies that M. Michael works as a night guard. It's not clear why, just that at a certain point in the movie he wants someone to free Charlie so he doesn't have to do it himself. Assuming that's his plan, it's not really clear. Of course, this guy is really obsessed with his dad's legacy, so we can assume that if William didn't directly plant him there, M. Michael is just taking the initiative for him. As I said earlier, Fritz is hired at the speed of somebody that already has an in with the company. The week before backs this up with Ralph stating they haven't hired a replacement for him either, implying that Mike was a last-minute hire. But William probably wouldn't give Michael a job without reason. He's consistently painted as a very controlling person. Especially considering there's a heavily implied massacre just before William plants him. If Michael didn't know about the murders, there's a pretty high chance this would make him suspicious, unless he was there to do something about the massacre. The bodies were left lying around, and it's heavily implied in the movies that William used his kids to help hide evidence from the police. Of course, this video isn't about proving any of these assumptions. That's why I'm calling them assumptions. So if this isn't sufficient evidence, these are all fairly popular theories that I imagine you can find a lot of information on. Maybe I'll link some below, but I probably won't. With these 3 assumptions, along with the information from the FNaF movies, we can look at what it really means when Michael says he has only one thing left to do. Michael has basically been playing Five Nights at Freddy's for like 30 years, and it never mattered whether or not he wanted to. Mike Schmidt notably never wants to work at Freddy's. He rejects the job and tries to forget about his weird career counselor, but he ends up having to take it. Over a year passes. Mike tries to leave Freddy's behind him, but he fails. Mike Schmidt is the protagonist, so he can abandon Vanessa and run from all things related to Freddy's and William Afton all he wants. But we both know he's going to end up in Fazbear's Fright in the 3rd movie. It started off about his siblings, but it's not anymore. Abby can't talk to her friends anymore. Mike doesn't really reference Garrett, but that doesn't matter. He's connected to Freddy's now. M. Michael Afton wants to work for Freddy's. Or he wants approval, and things working at Freddy's will get him that. But he's not going to get that approval, and we all know it. He can smile all he wants, but he's not happy. Michael makes this giddy sort of face when Charlie is freed and the mangle activates. But the moment the member of the Spectral Scoopers dies, he looks terrified. I don't think he's a serial killer. I don't think he's killed anyone at all. So of course he's never going to be William's favorite. He doesn't have it in him to kill people. All he has is a stupid plan to let Charlie go on a rampage, and it didn't even work. So Michael is just going to have to keep trying and trying to turn Freddy's into a killing machine in the hopes that it'll get him anything at all. But it won't. So he'll just be trapped in that cycle forever. Vanessa is somewhat of a middle ground between these two. Like her brother, she's under her father's thumb. She's terrified of him, and he uses it to make her do whatever he says. However, she does escape. She does want to leave Freddy's behind her. That just doesn't matter either. Vanessa isn't a proper Afton. She's kind, protective, and timid. She is nothing like her father, no matter what he says. But she doesn't know how not to be an Afton either. Vanessa doesn't seem to know what to do about her PTSD. Her only idea from Mike is to willingly give herself traumatic dreams. And it's hard for her to form relationships and work out who she wants to be when she's constantly reliving her past with no way out. No one knows exactly what she's been through, and she's far from ready to talk about it. So, even though she turns against her father, living with the guilt of spending her entire life up until that point helping him, nothing changes. The man who helped her escape from her abuser rejected her, and now she's right back where she started, tied to Freddy's through the marionette. It doesn't matter where Michael is in his growth. If he's trying to prove himself to his father, if he's trying to break away from his father, or if he's trying to get away from the tragedies of Freddy's altogether, he's always going to end up right back where he started, at Freddy's, with William Afton. There is only one thing left for Michael to do because there is no life for him outside of his father. Throughout the second movie, we learn a lot about the way William viewed his kids. It's implied in the games that he views them as possessions, things that can break and be put back together again. But it's specifically in the movie that we learn that William's children have internalized this dehumanization. In Vanessa's dream, William continuously reiterates that Vanessa is his. When he refers to her as his child, she turns into a little kid. Children are dependents. They don't have a lot of autonomy. As William's child, Vanessa doesn't have any power that he doesn't explicitly grant her. She belongs to him. Michael even echoes this statement exactly, making it clear just how often William treated them like property. Except they aren't just his. They have a purpose. And as William's possessions, that purpose revolves around him, and him alone. Vanessa struggles to find out how to be a person outside of her father. She doesn't know what normal is yet, because normal was never her purpose. Even though she rejects Michael, at the end it doesn't work. Her new family doesn't accept her, and her old family is desperate to have her back. She doesn't have any ties to normalcy. Mike was all she had, and now he's gone. All she has now is the experience of being William Afton's for her entire life. The movies teach us two important things. 1. Michael Afton cannot escape Freddy's or his father. 2. Michael Afton has resigned himself to belonging to William Afton, and that is his only purpose. There is only one thing left for Michael to do because Michael is just an extension of William. He's just not useful to William anymore. He has to find a new purpose, one that revolves around William, but on how to stop him rather than save him. Vanessa tells her father that she's nothing like him. It's clear she doesn't believe it. Michael reflects on being compared to his father. This is the way it's always been. This is the way it will always be. Michael can't move on. He can't even die in peace, ending his mission prematurely. No, Michael is tethered to his father in a way no other character is. He's never had a life for himself. He works for his father, dies, and then the only possible option for him to do is chase his father down. For 40 years, there was no Michael Afton without William Afton. So why now? When the one thing Michael had to do was to stay alive, if only so that he could exist as William's counterpart, why would Michael let go? Why would he end things? William is dead in the FNaF 2 movie. It's pretty clear no one knows he survived, not even M. Michael, who smiles, but I'm pretty sure it's because he doesn't want to burst into tears in front of these people. It's pretty heavily implied that Golden Freddy hid William from anyone who might have come searching. So theoretically, M. Michael could stop. He could leave. He could do anything else. But he doesn't. William is gone, but somebody needs to continue his legacy. The one thing Michael has to do will always revolve around his father. William's death doesn't mean he can rest. It doesn't mean he can escape. No one else has this strong of a connection to William, a connection that causes them to choose torment instead of eternal rest, in the same building that haunted them for years. The vengeful spirit constantly tries to assert control over William, control William once asserted over them. But he still has power over them. The spirit is sacrificing an eternal rest to spend the rest of their afterlife in Freddy's, with William Afton. And there is no one other than Michael Afton who has that purpose. Ultimate Custom Night serves 2 additional purposes beyond torturing William Afton. The first is to control William like William controlled Michael. Michael spent his childhood as one of William's possessions. He was his accomplice and then his adversary, with no room to exist in between. William determined the trajectory of Michael's life and his unlife. The jobs he'd take, the people he'd meet, the way he'd live, the way he died. None of that belonged to Michael. So now William's afterlife belongs to Michael, so he can take back what William stole from him. But the second purpose is for Michael to avoid existing without his father and without Freddy's. What the movie shows us about Michael Afton is simple. All he knows how to do is relive the past. Mike Schmidt dreams of his dead brother every night. Vanessa Shelley sees her dead father wherever she goes. Movie Michael Afton is obsessed with the legacy of his dead father. Michael Afton can't leave the demons to his demons because that demon is the only thing he knows. There's just William Afton. There's just being a night guard at Freddy's, hunted down by the same animatronics over and over again. This is Michael Afton's purpose, because he has never been anything else.